Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the Metal Junkie, and today is the day I tier rank the Gojira albums. And I'm also going to do a regular ranking on the tail end, just from worst to best for you guys. Big fan of this band. I seen them live in 2012, I believed, and they absolutely killed it. Been a fan of them since way back. I remember the first song I ever heard from them. I actually illegally downloaded it on like LimeWire or whatever back in like 2005. It was The Heaviest Matter of the Universe, and that song just kind of blew me away. And I've been a fan ever since. And I just recently reacted to the whole Fortitude album. If you want to check that out, I just reacted to all the songs off that. It was the only album I didn't know. I finally caught up, and we've made it here. And I love how this band, while they always sound like Gojira, at the end of the day, every one of their albums have different flavors to them, and I absolutely love that. Whether it works or it doesn't work as much, I still respect what they're doing in the genre. You know, going from progressive death metal to basically alternative metal these days is very interesting. Let's take a look at the tiers real quick. At the very top, we got King of the Monsters. You know, this is the closest you can get to a masterpiece, near perfection. Right under beneath that is Amazing, which is around a 9 out of 10 or so. Very close, but just not quite there. Then we got Great, Good, Okay, Below Average, Bad, and God Awful. Hopefully, we won't have to use that tier today, but you never know. We got 7 albums, so we're going to get along and start the show here. I'm going to do them in order of release. So starting with Terra Incognita. Incognita, yeah. Almost said Incognito. Their 2001 album, their debut. I feel like this is such an overlooked album, you know, especially for the fans of the last 10 years or so. I feel like they didn't even check this album out, and it definitely deserves it. Right out the gate, the band was playing at such high levels of musicianship. Everybody is going off on the instruments. They're going crazy. I love the heaviness of this album, the groove of this album. It's friggin' awesome. Um, the album could have been a little bit tighter. Of course, there's 14 tracks here, so there's a couple of interludes and filler tracks, which, you know, this band is known to do. They has gotten better at them over the years. But yeah, like for me, the first 10 tracks are so damn good. Everything after Rise kind of hurts the album just a tiny bit. They're okay tracks, but they're not quite on the same level as the first half of this album. I just absolutely love Blow Me Away Universe. That's a perfect example of what I like in Gojira. You know, just the heaviness, the grooviness all coming together. It's great. My personal favorite on the album, though, is Space Time, especially the bass groove on that song. It's so damn good. But yeah, Clone, the album starts right off with Clone, and that really shows you what you're in for. It's intense and off the chain right away. Lizard Skin, Satan is a Lawyer. There's so many good tracks on here. Like I said, you got some filler like track number 4. You got 5,988 trillion de tonnes. A few things like that which don't quite work for me. And the last few tracks is kind of dip in quality a bit compared to the rest of the album, but still a very strong debut that I feel like gets overlooked. So where am I placing it here? I feel like the best spot for it would be under Great, which, you know, is really impressive for a band's debut. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't checked it out. Moving on to their second album, The Link, from 2003. I got all the track lists beside me here, that's why I keep looking down. This is a pretty solid album. It is a little bit more focused in its themes and its track listing. This one feels very tribal in nature and its sound, and that a few of the vibes you get from it. We still got one pointless filler track with Tori though, but overall there's a little bit less filler on here. Death of Me is such a standout track to me. The opening riff is so damn good, and the vibe to that entire song is friggin' amazing. As well as Indians, it's very catchy and heavy. And of course, Dawn, the closing track. That is just perfect to listen to while walking through the woods or something, you know? It's such a good melody to that track. The groove to it, the vibe to it, so good. It does play a little bit too long for my taste and kind of repeats itself in the end, but it's the closing track, so I can kind of forgive it for that. But yeah, a very solid record. It's just not an album I go back to all that much compared to the rest of these records. Um, while there's no bad tracks, there's a few that I feel like uh, just go on for a little bit too long, or you know, it's just not personally my thing. A song like Remembrance, it's really interesting to hear how technical they can get with the riffing patterns. And at the ending of that song, the picking in it is just crazy. It's so intricate, and to figure out the pattern, it lasts a really long time. When I first heard that track, it was so impressive. But nowadays, going back, it's just not something I'm gonna listen to all that often, if I'm being honest. So a pretty good album. I don't think it's quite as strong as their debut, but it is more focused and perhaps a better production. But where am I gonna put it? I'm putting this one under a good. It's still good, guys. I give this like a 7.5 or so out of 10. Very solid still. Moving on, though, to the third record, which is, their big one, From Mars to Sirius. I think that's how you say it, Sirius. I always called it Cyrus before, but I guess it's Sirius, the star. So, yeah, you learn something new every day, and I've known this album for a long time. But yeah, this album really cemented Gojira as legends in modern metal. They're one of the top dogs, and this album really proved that. You really start to see more of their environmental issues and that coming out in their lyrics and their themes. It's great to see a band promote what they stand for. And all the songs, you can just really tell that on the songwriting level, they were just at the next step in evolution here. It's so damn good. And you got some signature sounds that you start to hear on later albums as well, like their famous guitar slide, or I don't know if they do that with their pick or whatnot, but they've been doing it ever since this album, and their crazy pitches and everything. It's great, and it all kind of started here, cementing that as a signature style for Gojira. But yeah, it's hard to pick uh, uh, any flaws with this album. It's so damn consistent, so good, so melodic. It has a great sense of atmosphere and everything. This band just continues to grow and evolve. I personally love Backbone. That's my type of Gojira track. Like I said, it's heavy, groovy, visceral, intense. It's the perfect blend. Where Dragons Dwell, From the Sky, both those songs, the same as I just mentioned, has everything I want, the ingredients that I want in one of these tracks. Flying Whales, one of the standout tracks from the band, great from start to finish. Just the sound of the whale sounds in that at the intro of that track is just so haunting almost. It gets under your skin in the best way possible. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with this album. The Heaviest Matter of the Universe is on here as well, which lives up to its name, and it was the first track I ever heard from this band. So this album definitely has a special place in my heart. Even their filler tracks or interludes are getting way better. They're actually really good on this album, like Unicorn, or From Mars. Good examples of those. And just a very solid record from start to finish. Got glorious tapping on the final track, Global Warming. So I absolutely love this album, and I can see why it's a fan favorite. It's definitely cemented them in the genre. It's going in King of the Monsters, baby. Us doing the real Godzilla justice up here. It has to be at the top. It deserves it. Moving on to the fourth album, The Way of the Flesh. Now, this one gives the last album some serious competition. And in my personal taste, my personal preference, I absolutely love The Way of the Flesh. It's so damn good. Um, Maybe even just a tiny bit better than their last album. And I like how it deals with like humanity and life and death, and how humans have to face death, right? And everything that comes with that. This is just the most the ear pleasing riffs on here. The riffs are just so damn good. The drumming and bass are always fantastic, but since I'm a guitar player, I really just hone in on those guitar riffs on this album because they're so damn juicy and good. to me, this is the band at their very peak, you know, and they stayed at that peak for a little while. It's extremely melodic without sacrificing the heaviness, you know. The newer albums kind of start to sacrifice that heaviness for a more accessible sound, but this one doesn't do that, that's for sure. Um, yeah, it's aggressive. It's still a bit progressive. It's heavy. It's everything I want. The way the album opens with Ouroboros, it's at one point this was my favorite metal track of all time. The intense tapping to everything, and when I seen them live, they opened with this, and I almost had a heart attack. It was so damn good. I absolutely love this track, and it's still one of my favorite metal tracks of all time, along with Toxic Garbage Island. That song was also one of my favorite tracks at one point. Those two kind of went back and forth for me, and you know, no other band seems to be talking about this giant island of garbage out there in the ocean. Again, like the band dealing with their environmental issues, continuing on from their last album and staying strong with it. But yeah, the first five tracks are literally perfection. Wouldn't change a thing about them. They're so good, but most of this album is just pure perfection. The Art of Dying, again, they're adding in a little bit of tribal stuff in there with the way they get the drum patterns are in that. It sounds like something straight out of like a go on an island and you meet this cannibal tribe or something. But it sounds great. We even get Randy Blythe on here from Lamb of God, the vocalist, and Adoration for None. I can't speak any more highly of this album. It's so damn good. The lyrics in Yama's Messengers, perfection, especially with the heaviness in the background. It just drives it home. Even A Sight to Behold, it's very different from what we heard the band do before this to their previous works, but it just has really cool electronic effects on the instruments and the voice, and it just makes it a standout track again. So where am I putting this? No doubt I am putting this in King of the Monsters as well. Just two heavy hitting albums back to back, and it's so impressive. Really impressive. Moving on to album number 5, L'Enfant Sauvage from 2012. This is a great album as well, and I don't know why I always tend to forget about this in their discography. I'm like, oh yeah, L'Enfant Sauvage. And I loved it when it came out and everything, and I actually go back to it quite often when I can think of it, but for some reason, this album just doesn't want to stay in my mind. This album really deals with, you know, human emotions and just a range of senses and natural instincts that we deal with as people, you know. I like how they tap into these natural humanity types of situations and stuff. It's so interesting. And there's a lot of cool picking riffs in here, tapping riffs. They got it all on this record. And this may be the band's most overlooked album aside from their debut. Like after their debut, I would throw this up there as overlooked. Doesn't get mentioned enough, and I really love this album. The way it opens with Explosia, I mean, it's just such a good track, heavy, and the way it ends, it has that like western riff to it, little lick, so good. Another song I got to see live when the song was fresh and new, so that was an absolute treat. And yeah, again, just so many good songs from L'Enfant Sauvage. The axe, the fast picking melody in that song is crazy. Liquid Fire is fire. The Wild Healer, another fire interlude type track. They just, like I said, ever since From Mars, they've just been getting amazing at those filler little interludes. They're actually interesting. Um, yeah, it's, you know, it's a good album when your weakest track is Planned Obsolescence. I always have a hard time saying that track name, and I still give that like an 8 out of 10. That track, and everything else is way better. You know, Born in Winter, so friggin' melodic and majestic sounding. With it just sounds beautiful. That track. It's very powerful too. The Gift of Guilt is a personal fave of mine out of their whole discography. That is a track I listened to a million times over. So damn good. It's just a really good album. Again, I feel like kind of overlooked. So where am I placing it? It's also going up in the King of the Monsters. They're continuing their streak of album ratings of 9.5 and higher for me. These are close to 10s as you can get. So damn good. I can't express that enough. Moving on to Magma. Now, Magma might be my first hot take here. I don't know. You guys let me know. But when this album came out, I wasn't too fond of it. I was super excited for its release because Silvera and Stranded were badass singles. They definitely sounded different than what we heard before, but they still worked for me. They're perfect tracks, them too. So I was really excited for this album, and when it came out, I was a bit disappointed, a little underwhelming on my first few listens. Going back for this ranking, I re-listened to it quite a bit, and it's not as bad as what I thought. I'm actually starting to warm up to it. But yeah, some people say this is their best album, and that's cool for you, but this is my opinion, and to me, it's nowhere near their top King of the Monsters, type albums. But there's still some good stuff on here. Like I've grown to really like Magma, the song itself. It almost sounds alien with its pitches and stuff. Lowlands, another really great track. Prey, there's some other good stuff on here. But then you got tracks like Liberation, which is an acoustic track with bongos. It's the last track, so it's not so bad, but it does nothing for me whatsoever. It's always getting skipped. Yellowstone's pretty cool, little filler again. But yeah, The Cell, not a big fan of that track, unfortunately. So there's some hits, there's some misses on here, but this is definitely a band that created an album that was much more accessible than their earlier work, so that's why they garnered new fans, I feel. And this came out at a time where the Duplantier brothers lost their mother, so that had a lot to do with the change of sound and the songwriting and so forth. Everything to do with that. They've mentioned that in interviews countless times. So I understand the change. I'm not mad at it or anything. It just, to me, it's just not as good as everything that came before it, unfortunately. But like I said, it still has its heavy moments, and I'm starting to gravitate more towards it. Honestly, this would be down as below average before, probably, or even maybe okay. But I think I'm willing to give it good. It's good. It really is. I think it's fairly close to the Link, actually, just a bit weaker to me. But yeah, it did grow on me over the years, so don't hate me too much for placing this in good, even though that's still a great place to place it. I'm sure someone still be mad and still say I should have it in at least amazing, but it is what it is. This is my ranking, and that is how I feel. I just wish they would have had a little bit more progressive elements in there, I feel, but it is what it is. Moving on to their final and last record, Fortitude, their seventh record from this French band from France. And this one is kind of in line with Magma when it comes to their sound. It's a little bit more alternative metal, but it's a little bit more heavy, I feel, than Magma. And the riffs flow a little bit better for me as well. This is a really fresh album for me, but I have been listening to it nonstop for the last week. I reacted to all of them, and then I listened to it before ranking this. I want to make sure I really knew the album. And yeah, while it's fairly simple, it's really good. You got some really heavy tracks with attitude on here, like Born for one thing, Newfound, one of my favorites, as well as Finks, and yeah, there's some heavy stuff on there, but yet they still have their more accessible tracks like The Chant, which right off the bat, the first time I heard it, it clicked with me right away. The melody of the vocal work and the chorus and everything, it's just so damn catchy, so damn good. And Another World, you got really cool guitars in that one, cool little riff. They're still putting a bit of that tribal feel in there with Amazonia, another great track. Honestly, there's no bad tracks on here at all. They're all killer. Fortitude is the only kind of filler, but it goes with the chants, so it kind of work as one song. A very solid record, and it kind of surprised me because I guess I didn't check this out because not only because I wasn't into new music at the time of its release, but because of Magma kind of had me not as interested in checking it out. But I'm glad I did because, man, like I said, it's a good mix of their old and new sound, and it's all very solid. Like, it's very good. And I'm sure this still pleases the alternative metal fans that were more fans of Magma. I'm sure they still like this as well. So this was a good blend. Where am I going to place it though? where am I going to place it? For me, this album is amazing. It's either a high great or a low amazing, but for this video, for the sake of this video, I'm going to put it under amazing for now anyway. Maybe over time, since it's pretty simple and maybe on repeats I won't like it as much, but for now it's still very fresh. Even though I heard it a bunch of times, I know every song very good. It's going in amazing for me. So there you have it, guys. There's my tier list ranking. Now time to drop my actual ranking from worst to best. Let's go. So in last place at number 7, I'm going with the album Magma. At number 6, I got The Link. At number 5, I got Terra Incognita. At number 4, we're going with their newest album, Fortitude. In third place, I got L'Enfant Sauvage. In second place, I got From Mars to Sirius. And in first place, I have to give it to The Way of the Flesh. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed my rankings here, my tier list ranking and my actual ranking from worst to best. Let me know how you rank these albums. Do you love this band? Do you hate this band? I'd love to hear it in the comment section. Like I already mentioned, I already reacted to all of Fortitude. Unfortunately, I already knew all the other songs, so I didn't get to react to those. Stay tuned, because every time I react to a band's discography, I rank the albums right after. So if you enjoy that, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for future content. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, thanks for watching.